Hi everyone, Wavesurfer 4000 HD gives you 12-bit resolution up to 1 GHz at a great price. It allows you to make par rail measurements on a budget without having to spend a lot on probing solutions. We will show you 4 ways to measure a 5-volt rail and then explain the trade-offs. You can then decide which solution works best for you. Passive probes come standard with every oscilloscope. This is the most common way to probe a par rail. However, these probes have 10x attenuation, which increases your noise by a factor of 20. It also worsens your oscilloscope's minimum sensitivity by a factor of 10. Also, note the big ground loop that is created. This functions as an antenna and is really great at picking up noise, as shown here on channel 1. To reduce the noise pickup, use the provided ground spring. Noise is reduced because the ground loop is smaller, but the 10x attenuation of the probe still reduces the sensitivity of the oscilloscope by a factor of 10. Another option is to build your own rail probe. To do this, you take a coaxial cable, strip one end, solder a 50 ohm resistor, and then solder it down to the par rail being probed. Plug the coax into the oscilloscope and set the oscilloscope channel termination to 1 megaohm. The noise is now reduced mostly because the coaxial probe has 1-to-1 attenuation. This approach is possible because the Wavesurfer 4000 HD oscilloscope has offset equal to the rail voltage, even at higher sensitivities. You can also use our RP4030 rail probe. This has a built-in offset DAC and a 50 kilo ohm termination at DC to reduce loading on the rail. It allows more bandwidth than the homemade coaxial or passive probe. It also has a variety of tips and connections to the rail, which increases convenience and improves noise performance. You can see that this provides the best noise performance, but at a cost of about $2,500. So, let's recap. We first probed the par rail with a passive probe and a big ground loop. Then, we used a passive probe with a ground spring. Then, we used the homemade coaxial probe. And finally, we used the rail probe. The rail probe gives the best performance, but at the highest cost. The other solutions may provide acceptable performance, especially when you combine them with the 12-bit Wavesurfer 4000 HD. We've shown 4 different solutions for probing par rails using a Wavesurfer 4000 HD. 3 of them can be had at no or low cost and may provide acceptable performance. More than likely, you can probe par rails on a budget.